I am so happy with the way this sweet little pumpkin shelf sitter turned out. Now, guys, what I used for the pumpkin are these plastic shower curtain rings. I got this pack over at the Dollar Tree for $1.25. The fabrics I'm using are these two. They are from jubileefabric.com. I have shared my love of jubileefabric.com. I also get some homespun and different fabrics from Hobby Lobby, sometimes Walmart, but for these autumn or fall looking or different seasons, I love jubileefabric.com. Now, what I did is I just laid it out and just took my ruler, and then about every 3/4 of an inch, I just put a little notch, and then I just ripped it so that I could have the ripped edges. Then I just took my Fabri-Tac glue, and then I'm just going to kind of like where the part where the shower curtain like hooks together. That's kind of where I just started. That just worked best for me. And I just put some Fabri-Tac glue on there. You can also use hot glue, but in my opinion, the Fabri-Tac glue dries really quick. And so I was able to wrap it all the way around and then just tack it there as I went along. I did 4 of the larger check fabric and then 4 of the smaller plaid pattern from Jubilee Fabric. And so then I have 8 rings for my pumpkin. So for my pumpkin stems, there are a lot of different materials that people use for their pumpkin stems. Now, these wood pieces, I got some of them from Dollar Tree, some from Hobby Lobby. I could not find any of the small thin ones, or like they're thin but cut a little bit longer. They're a little bit wider. I had found this wood bundle from Hobby Lobby, and it's in the Christmas section. So at the time of this video, they have their Christmas stuff 50% off. And so I said, oh, this might work for my pumpkin stems. So I purchased it and just cut it apart. It has some felt on the back so that, you can wrap it around different things, different projects, or in your decor. So I just took my heat gun and just got that felt off of there, kind of melt that glue on there. Some of them came off a little bit easier than the other ones, but I just used my needle nose pliers or whatever I could to get that felt off of there. And so at first I was going to use some E6000. Then I'm like, you dummy, that is some wood. So I pulled out my Tite Bond wood glue and then glued those together, kind of matching up the stems or the, pieces where I felt that they went together nicely. And so then I just, let them dry with my little clamps. To assemble my pumpkin, I am just using some hot glue, and how I started is the shower curtain ring has like a flatter side, so that is what I'm going to be gluing next to the stem of the pumpkin, and I just used some Gorilla hot glue, and I kind of positioned it, glued it at the, like I'm looking at a clock, like the 12, 3, 6, and 9 position. I glued those 4 on there, then I go back with the other 4 and glue those in between there so that I have the even spaces for my pumpkin, and I just really think that it looks really, really cute. And so then once I get all of those glued on there, then I just took a piece of fabric, ripped fabric, and then I just go in between carefully so that I don't like knock them off, and then I tie that tight through there so that it gives it an extra hold. To decorate the top, this is the fun part for me. I just took my fine excelsior and added it to the top, pushing it down with my masking tool to kind of get in there. This fine excelsior I get over at Hobby Lobby. I like the thinner stuff and just love all the wispiness to it. Kind of sticks up and it just really makes my country heart happy. So what I did is also I'm using these burlap leaves, and I get these from the wedding section, the His and Her wedding section over at Hobby Lobby, as well as these curly cues. Now you can make your own, but it's fun when you can find things on sale and use them for your country crafts. And so I just took a couple of those leaves off. Now just going to cut those down a little bit shorter. Then to give it a little bit of dimension, I just took my Distress Ink and Vintage Photo, just went around and gave it a little bit of color. I take those curly cues apart as well. I'm going to cut all those down as I need to. The fine excelsior, what that does is it kind of adds like something for me to stick my leaves and my curly cues, my pip berries, and all of the other little things that I have going on here. And really adds as that, something for like substance, something for my crafts to stick to. So I just cut these curly cues down and just gonna stick those in there. They were just a tad long, so I just clipped them off with my cutters and everything looks really cute. I also added some flowers. You can get these in the fall section at Hobby Lobby, or they have them, or they used to have them on a garland in the garland section at Hobby Lobby. And I love adding these to my crafts. Now, these orange and white pip berries are from the fall section at Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby is my choice where I love to shop. My purpose is really just to inspire you, to entertain you, just to share my gifts that the good Lord has given to me and to share them with so many people. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your very sweet and kind comments. Now, this pumpkin just turned out so cute, but I wanted my stem to be just a little bit taller. So I pulled out pieces of those other little wooden stems that I had in my bag. Now, I'm hoping that Dollar Tree I don't know, every Dollar Tree is different in what supplies they carry. I had went to like 3 or 4 different Dollar Trees in my area and I could not find any of those little wooden stems. And I just glad that I had one that I could finish out this video. So I just glued that there to the top just to make it stand up just a little bit more. Now, what I did is I told my husband, I said, hey, I'm going to need you to cut me some sticks because we do have quite a few trees in our yard. And when he cuts limbs, have him on the lookout to cut me some little pumpkin stems. So I have them for next season. This little crate is using this box from the Dollar Tree, as well as 2 of these mini cutting boards from Hobby Lobby. They're part of the fall season. I'm also using this 5 3/4 inch wood spindle that I got from Amazon and some fall florals that I got from Walmart. All right, so what I did is take my antique wax just to give my box a stain. I just use that with a baby wipe going around all of the sides and in on the inside. And I didn't worry about the bottom or the sides because you're not going to see that anyway. In the little crevices, I just used a paintbrush just just to get in there in those little grooves. All right, so I took off the little tags for the cutting board. So I figure out which side I want to work with. And I did the same thing, just using a baby wipe and adding a little bit of stain. These kind of had a sheen to them. So I think that they already had something on them because it really didn't make that much of a difference. But I knew it, so it made me feel a little bit better. And so I just stained the sides, and the other one that's going to be kind of like the inside because I'm going to be using some paper for to Mod Podge onto the outside. Okay, so I'm going to be using some paper out of this Give Thanks paper collection. I chose this one right here. It is from Miss Kate Designs. I will have a link for that in the description box below, as well as my affiliate code that you can get $5 off. All right, so what I do is I figure out which pattern I want, and I just lay my cutting board down, just take my little pen and then trace it around that. Then I just cut it out and just take my time so that I can get a really nice cut. Going to be using the Mod Podge heat transfer method. I'm just putting a layer of Mod Podge on my cutting board. This is the side where the paper is going to go. It's a nice thin layer, but yet thick enough for it to have something to grab a hold to. Use my little heat tool just to dry this up a little bit more. And then I decided I wanted to take my spindle and actually give it a little bit darker coverage of that antique wax. Now this is the one that I get at Walmart by Waverly. The baby wipe, it was a little bit too light, so I just used a paintbrush and just brushed that on, and then took my towel and just rubbed it off, to get the little excess off. All right, so then to attach the paper to my cutting boards, I am just using my Cricut mini press. This is just the little iron that I use, and I have that piece of paper is just parchment paper. It's just a little barrier just to kind of protect your project. And so once that is all adhered, this is how they look. Those are going to be the ends of my crate. And so then once they're completely dry, then I just take my little mini sanding block that I got from Amazon, and I just sanded the edges of it. I also took my distress ink and went around the wood crate just to give it a little bit of depth and dimension. I went around my little cutting boards just to do that as well. Then I just took my little wispy brush. I got this little brush from Dollar Tree, and just some paint. This is just Drop Cloth by Dixie Belle, and I just am doing some dry brushing, just dipping it in and then brushing it off like the excess of it. I just want that wispy look like that. And now it's time to assemble my crate to my cutting board. So I just have my Tite Bond wood glue, just some dots of hot glue. I lined that up just to make sure that I like the placement. And then I put the crate on one side. And then I go ahead and add my spindle to that as well. And it just fits right in those little holes up at the top on those cutting boards. All right, so now I am just measuring out some styrofoam. I just got these blocks over at the Dollar Tree. And then to cover that up, I just found this brown fine Excelsior over at Joann's, and just using some of that. I'm also going to be mixing in a little bit of the off-white Excelsior, just kind of adding a little bit of that to my little crate project here, and it's going to be looking so cute. The little florals, as I mentioned, those came from Walmart, and so I cut off the stems of those and then just start gluing those in my little crate right here. I love these little crate projects. I had created one for Americana, this little 1776 one. I will leave a link for that one as well. And I can't wait to make another one for the holiday season and maybe just for all of the different seasons because these little cutting boards are so versatile. Hobby Lobby seems to have them for different seasons, and especially when they put all of their stuff on sale, I grab some of those, and so that I can make cute little projects like this. To add a little bit more country ness that I like, I'm putting some of these burlap leaves in there. The stems are a little bit, they're not very uh, strong. So I took some pieces of that, what I cut those sunflower picks off of, and I just wrapped the wire around those just to make it a little bit stronger. And then I glued those in there. I also enhanced those little leaves with some vintage photo distress ink just to give it a little bit of color and just glue those in there. I also added some pip berries. Guys, I love me some pip berries. Those really do make my heart so happy. And so those kind of cream and orange pip berries I can get in the fall season over at Hobby Lobby. And I'm just absolutely loving the way that this little crate turned out. Of course, I could add a bow or I could add something to the sides, but I just really like the simplicity of the beautiful paper and I didn't really want to take away from it. And I hope that you love it as well. And maybe you'll give it a try too. This little plastic jar is a little mini mason jar. Now I got this over at Dollar Tree. It's part of their crafter square section. And so I would need it to get that pesty sticker off of the side. So I just heated it up. I got a little bit too hot on there, but it just didn't matter. I kind of pushed my little jar, kind of gave it a little dent, but that is okay. I'm going to be using these potpourri or polka pods in the primitive country world. They're the brooms, blooms selection over at, or they're actually the collection over at Hobby Lobby. And so they've had them for a couple of years. So each year I do grab a bag when I see them. So I just filled my little mason jar up. Now these right here did not have any scent or anything like that. I just love the color of it. So I just put the little top back on there, and the buffalo plaid, it came just like that from the Dollar Tree. All right, so then for the ring at the top, I'm just using a mini grapevine, and so I untwist it and then just kind of pull it apart so I can have it. I can work with it a little bit better because I need to have those little branches kind of spread out. And so then here I'm just kind of figuring, do I want to wrap it around? But then I decide I want to kind of like make a candle ring at the top. And so I'm going to be doing that. I'm also to be adding some pip berries. I just took the pip berries and those come off of a garland in the fall section at Hobby Lobby as well. And I just kind of made my own little candle ring just by twisting them and just making it into a circle. And then I'll just be setting that on the top. And then with the little candles, those are the little flameless candles. I just got the little mini value pack over at Hobby Lobby. They're little LED flameless candles, and I got the orange ones. And so they just really turned out so cute. Sometimes we just want to have a little light, and these little flameless candles just turned out so cute. These are my Gingham Autumn flowers with Rustic Base, and I'm also going to be making a tag. I absolutely love how these autumn flowers turned out, and so let me show you how I did them. Now, what I'm starting with is I'm going to show you what I'm going to use, but first I wanted to mention that the like mason jar rings and the lids work really good, but I'm going to be using some shower curtain rings that I got this package over at Dollar Tree. But those mason jars, the rings, I had used those from summer when I made the Primitive Country Americana project. I had done these flowers for the first time, and so I will link to that video if it's something that you are interested in. All right, guys, so what I did is I just took one of those plastic shower curtain rings. I glued the end shut so that it would, give me the full circle. And so then now I'm going to be tying on some gingham fabric. Now, this orange gingham fabric came from jubileefabric.com, and the brown came from Hobby Lobby. So what I did, guys, is I just took my ruler and kind of laid it out. Then I am going everywhere there is the 1 inch, because that is what I put a little notch in to tear off my gingham fabric to make my ties. Now, when I tear them off, I do that because I like the ripped edges and I don't mind the strings. I just cut off what I don't want. You could definitely cut them with scissors, or if you have pinking shears, that gives a really nice finish touch to that. And so here I am left with these strips of the gingham fabric. And so what I'm going to do to kind of help myself a bit, I just took the time to just take my little iron. This is just my Cricut Easy Press. I just press those out just to give it a little, so they're a little bit more straight, and that my flower petals laid a little more nicely. To tie my fabric onto my ring, I am doing it like a lark's knot that people use for macrame. And so what I have here are my strips of fabric. I fold it in half, and then I am going a certain way. I flip over, and then I pull my ends of my fabric through the center, and then that gives me the knot on top. And so depending on if you want your knot on the front or if you want it on the back will depend on how you position your fabric on to whatever ring you are using. And so what I do is, again, I am now going to measure out about 2 inches, because that is what I'm going to do to cut it so that it looks really, really nice. And that is how my petals, I guess, are looking on my ring flower. So again, what I do is I fold it in half, and then I go along the ring, and then I pull the bottom through the fabric, and then I tighten it, and then it gives me a knot there on the front, and then I just kind of position it how I like it to lay really nicely. And then again, I measured out my petals about 2 inches, and then I'm just taking my pinking shears because that kind of gives it a really nice jagged edge, and I'm going to cut those off, and so that they are all the same. Now, I have practiced, on some other florals, and I cut them all at the end. I just like it better if I cut them as I go along, because I it kind of gives me more of the finished look. The longer ones kind of drive me crazy, but to each its own, whatever works good for you or whoever is creating these cute little autumn flowers. So I end up with 24 pieces of gingham fabric on this shower ring, and then that is the size that I like for my little flowers. Now I'm going to add a little bit of stiffening, and I'm going to use my Stiffen Quick Spray. You can get this anywhere, like fabric and stuff are sold in the fabric department, or It is listed in my Amazon storefront because I do use it a lot in my crafting. Now, for the center of my flowers, what I'm going to use is this brown fabric that I got from Hobby Lobby, and so I am going to use one of those toppers, from the mason jar from that pack that I got from the Goodwill. And so what I did is I just cut off a strip of that, and then I'm folding it in half because I want to round the edges just a bit. And so I'm going to use some fabric fill stuffing just to kind of give it a little bit of poof in the center. So then I'm just going to glue that on, and then I'm going to just kind of cut that fabric all the way around so that I can glue the brown fabric nicely where it looks really nice around the edge of the ring. And I find that my little masking tool that I got from the Dollar Tree works really good and helps prevent some burned fingers. So once I get my little center of my flower finish, I'm just taking my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo, that's my favorite ink, and I just have a little finger dauber. It has a little sponge on the end, and so I'm just going around the center of the flower, just giving it a little bit of definition. I will also add a little bit of distress ink to my flower itself, going around the center, and then just kind of give a little bit of it along the petals. Nothing too precise or anything, just to give it a little bit of distressing. Before I add the stem, I'm going to make a sisal twine bow. Now, this sisal twine came from Hobby Lobby, so I just make 3 loops, 6 loops all together, 3 on each side. Just make just a shoestring bow. Just tie that off in the center, put it to the side. Now, for the stem, what I'm using are these barbecue skewers that I picked up at a local grocery store several years ago. They're a little bit more flat, and I like them a little bit better than just the regular round skewers. And so what I'm going to do is I have this 1.5-inch ribbon. I like the olive color, so I'm just going to be wrapping that around the stem of my barbecue skewer, and so that is going to be the green part for my flower. To attach the stem to my flower, I am just going to be gluing that on there, and then just to kind of finish it off, I have just a piece of cardstock, just craft colored cardstock, and then I just used a 3-inch hole puncher that has a scalloped edge. It is a Paper Shapers hole punch. It's just one that I've had on hand in my stash. Decided to use it, and so I just glue that there to the back, just so that everything looks really nice and finished. Now, for kind of like the flowers or like the top bow for my little flower here, I just took a piece of that 1.5-inch green ribbon, just cut that off on the edges, just diagonaled the edges just to make it look really nice and finished. And then to attach it, I'm going to be using some fine Excelsior. I get this over at Hobby Lobby, so I'm going to be using some of that and just kind of pile it up, or just kind of be building up my leaves. And I'm going to be using some orange and white pip berries that I got from the fall section over at Hobby Lobby. Be adding some of those. I put on my sisal twine bow and just kind of build up the bottom of my flower until it looks the way that I want it. For the rustic base, I have this tin can. It is a vegetable can. I rinsed it out, ran it through my dishwasher. Then now I'm going to give it a coat of cashew chalk paint. And for my wooden sticks, I have these giant craft sticks. I got this pack over at Walmart. And so I'm just going to cut off the ends of it and then figure out how tall I need them to go around my can, measure them off, and then I just have a pencil. I'm just going to be cutting, measuring those, and then just cutting those off with my scissors. And had really good luck. These did not crack at all. And so once I get all of those done, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this I'm going to be giving them some antique wax, and that is by Waverly. I just use my baby wipe just to give it a stained look. And that's what I needed. I needed 9 of these giant craft sticks to go around this particular vegetable can. For a little bit more definition and rusticness, I'm just taking my vintage photo distress ink, going around each of the little slats just to give it a little bit more definition. And then I'm just using my stencil brush and white paint, just giving it a dry brushing on each one of the little slats. Now, to attach them to the can, I'm just using my Tight Bond glue as well as hot glue. Just putting that glue there in the middle down the little slat, and then attach that all the way around. And again, I used 9 of these sticks on this particular can, but depending on the width of your can will depend on how many sticks one might need. And I absolutely love the way that this turned out. I have done many projects with these little giant craft sticks, and I love the rustic, just distressed look of all of those. All right, so then to add some weight for my can, I have this bag of rocks that I got over at the Dollar Tree. Add a little bit of those in there just for some weight because I don't want my can to tump over. And so then I'm just cutting down some styrofoam just to fit in there. And then that is what I'm going to be sticking in my autumn gingham flowers, as well as some other just filler bushes, flowers, just some autumn goodness for this cute little arrangement. Now I'm also going to use some fine Excelsior. I love fine Excelsior. It is one of my staples in my country crafting. And again, I get this over at Hobby Lobby. And these whimsical little filler bushes I got over at the Dollar Tree. I added a few more pit berries, and again, these orange and cream colored pit berries came from the fall section over at Hobby Lobby. Then for the raffia bow, I just tied strands of raffia around the can. Now, I like the raffia that is from Walmart right now in their floral section. So for the tag, what I did is I have these tea stain tags that I have a whole bunch of them that I've tea stained, many years ago. And so then I pull them out and use one when I want to do a project. Now, these clear stamps, they're like a daisy stamp, and I'll put the name of the stamp set that I'm using on the screen. I have no idea where I got it from or if you can even find it, but sometimes people want to know, and I always get questions or messages for certain things. So I'll just tell you where I got that from. So what I'm going to do is, just stamp just with the black ink, just stamp around, just giving it just some character. Then I just take my black marker. This is a Sharpie marker, the chisel marker, and just hand lettered autumn. I just give it a little bit of just extra highlight with my cream color of, paint and all of that good stuff. I go around the edges just with my vintage photo distress ink and do all of that goodness. And so then to attach it to my flower arrangement, I just took a rusty safety pin and actually just pinned it through one of those fall leaves that are in the arrangement, just stuck it there. And I absolutely love the way that this little arrangement turned out. Now, I decided to make a small arrangement, but I have so many other ideas to do with these autumn gingham flowers. And of course, they are just, you could just change up the fabric and for different seasons, occasions, all of that good stuff. These gingham autumn flower bowl fillers are a little bit smaller version. And what I did is I took some of this rope that I had on hand in my stash. I think I got this like at Tractor Supply or something like that. And what I did is I cut off a piece of it and then I held it together, glued it, and then just to reinforce it just a tad, I am just taking some washi tape. I was looking for my floral tape, but I couldn't find it. So I settled with some washi tape just to kind of hold it a little bit together like that. So what I did is I did the same thing as I did with the larger flowers is I tied on the strips of fabric around the rope. And then what I'm going to do for the center is I am using the top of a little can that I'm recycling. This can is a tomato paste can. And so I like this size can just for different recycling purposes. And so I said, well, I think that that would make a perfect center base. And so that's what I did. I did the same thing as I did with the larger flowers by cutting a piece of that brown fabric and then just using my distress ink, just going around and giving it a little bit of distressing just to give it a little bit of color on there. Then I'm just going to be gluing that there to the center and really just making these look really cute. Now to add a little bit more pizzazz, I am taking my adhesive spray and some glitter and just adding a little bit of spray to that and then sprinkling on a little bit of glitter. And those just turned out so pretty. I love this smaller version as well. And I absolutely love bowl fillers for the fall season. And that leads me into my Harvest Delight pocket bowl fillers using some prints from my friend Summer over at Hammond's Nest. I printed these on just some white cardstock, and then I'm going to cut out the 4 large ones because I'm going to make like some pockets on them or for them. And then that's what I thought I was going to use some brown bags as my pockets. But as I get into this a little bit further, I realized that I'm just going to use some craft colored cardstock and just make my pockets with that. So I trim those off and then I'm going to save those other small little tags for another project. And I took my favorite distress ink in Vintage Photo and I went around the edges and gave it a little bit more distressing the way that I like. Then I used my distressing tool and I went around the edges of that just to give it a little bit more aged and more jagged look to my little tags here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the tags then to the cardstock. So I have this brown craft cardstock that I've had on hand in my stash and I folded it in half and I got 2 pockets out of one piece of 8.5 by 11. And then I'm going to go ahead and tear around the edges because I like the aged, ragged look. And so then once I get that done, then I also go back and add a bit of distress ink in Vintage Photo around the edges of it just to make sure the whole project ties all in together. then I find that hot glue works really well just to glue these closed, leaving the open at the top so that I could put in some stuffing. And so once I get the amount of stuffing in there that I want, then I go ahead and glue that shut as well. Once it's all kind of together, then just a little added interest, I used a rusty safety pin just there in the corner. I just used my little paper piercing poking tool just to kind of get it started and then just kind of attached it there on the side. Now, for additional, I like glitter, and so I just added a little bit of just some adhesive spray and then some crystal fine glitter. This is the Martha Stewart brand. I have like a whole pack of different colors, and I absolutely love this crystal fine, kind of almost white iridescent looking color, and I just love the way that it just adds a pop of shimmer to my Harvest Delight bowl fillers, and they just complement my little autumn gingham flowers so well. I absolutely love bow fillers for the fall season, for any time throughout the year, but especially for the fall season. Harvest Market floral decor piece is using this beautiful autumn market pumpkins with the truck on it. Now, this print is from Jen over at Mother Time. Now, guys, let me tell you what I did. I went over to Mother Time, shopped her printables, and found the one that I wanted, went ahead and downloaded it, and printed it out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And so that is going to be the focus of this beautiful floral arrangement. Now, what I did, guys, what I'm using is a recycled Amazon bag. Now, I had got something in the mail and I was like, well, this is too good to throw away, so I can go ahead and recycle this. So I've had it in my stash for a little while, and so decided that this would be the perfect time to use this. Now, this print, again, like I said, is from Jen over at Mother Time. I will have a link for it in the description box. Printed it out on 8.5 by 11, just on white cardstock. And what I'm going to do is just rip around the edges just to give the jagged edge. I love how it has the distressing look on it already. And then to add a little bit more color the way that I like, I'm just taking my vintage photo distress ink and just going around the edges and giving it some color on that as well. I put this on some just fall print scrapbook paper that I had on hand, and just using my adhesive tape glider, just attaching that to the scrapbook paper, then trimming it off the size that I want it. Now, to give it a little bit more aged look, I took my distressing tool and went around the edges of that scrapbook paper just to have it all look very rustic, the way that I like it. And then to kind of take it up a notch, I am going to use some little pins. I think these are like upholstery pins, little that you can find like in the fabric section. And at first I thought I may use some buttons, but I decided not to use the buttons. I'm just going to use the little upholstery tacks, and just to add to the corners of my sign, just for a little added interest. Now, the upholstery tacks, they have a little sharp edge on it where it kind of sticks in, but I went ahead and just took my cutters and just cut that off. And then to attach it, I just poked a hole with my paper piercer, and then just added some Titebond glue just to glue everything down and just make sure that it all stayed. And now, since this is mostly paper, I am just going to have this inside my home just to kind of, have it for the season. Like I said, since this is paper, it wouldn't do well outside with all of the weather elements. to fill my bag, I wanted to have a little substance at the bottom, a little filler stuff. So I pulled out some tissue paper, and then also I have some plastic bags. Just gonna stuff that there in the bottom. I don't want anything too heavy because this is going to be I'm going to be hanging on a hook. And so once I get kind of the filler the way that I want it, then I just have this styrofoam that I've had. This is also listed in my Amazon storefront. I found where I can get them in bulk and not have to buy them individually over at the Dollar Tree or Walmart. I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. Then before I put in my florals, I want to make sure and put some holes in the side because I'm going to be using some rope, just some jute rope. Now, this is a 4-ply jute rope that I get over at Hobby Lobby. I'm just going to be tying that off so that it gives me a very nice hanger. Now, for the florals, I have a lot of different fall florals that came mostly from Hobby Lobby. I have some of these filler bushes from Dollar Tree. These cute rustic pumpkins, like burlap pumpkins, came from Hobby Lobby. The white berries also came from Hobby Lobby. Most of them are from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to stick those in there, just kind of arranging them the way that I want them. And it looks all really, really nice. Now, for the small rag bow, I'm just taking just some strips of fabric. Now, I got most of this fabric. I got it either from JubileeFabric.com or Hobby Lobby, and then I'm just tying that off ripping it off rather, because I like the ragged edges. I make a sisal twine bow. That sisal twine came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to attach that there to the side. And this upcycled project just turned out so cute. This is my take on the viral craft, the busted canvas decor. I'm so glad that you're here, and let's get started. Okay, my canvas measures 12 by 12, and you can get these anywhere like canvases are sold. I have several of these on hand, so decided to use it in this project. Now, the print that I'm using is this one. It says Hello Fall, and it has some cute sunflowers and just greenery and other just different flowers and stuff in it. These are some of the scrapbook paper that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using that weathered board, but later I'll show which orange I'm using. I decided not to use the check. All right, so I need to have a backer board for my print to be Mod Podged onto. So I just have this cardboard, just cutting out the square. I just use my box blade to cut that off like that. And then now this print right here, let me tell you, this is from the 2022 calendar, The Seasons of Joy from Jennifer Pugh. If you do not have this on hand or don't want to part with it, you can find this print over in Jennifer Pugh's Etsy shop, and I'll have a link for that in the description box below as well. And don't forget to use my code Tracy10 for 10% off anything in Jennifer's shop. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I have this rustic weathered board scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to go ahead and Mod Podge that on. But first, I went ahead and took some paint. I used Dixie Belle drop cloth, and that kind of blended in with the weathered board. So I just went around the sides and the back to go ahead and kind of give that some color. I should have forethought to go ahead and paint the frame on the inside, because later I do need to go back and paint that so that you don't see the unfinished wood in my frame. But I wasn't thinking when I decided to paint this. All right, so to attach my paper, I'm just using some Mod Podge and just putting it all over the canvas, just with my foam brush. And then I let my weathered board paper dry completely, and then I'm going to go ahead and work on the Hello Fall print. Now, again, this is from the Seasons of Joy calendar from Jennifer Pugh, but she sells this print alone by itself in her Etsy shop. And again, I'll have a link for that in the description. Use my code to get 10% off, Tracy 10. So for that cardboard, what I did is I put Mod Podge on the entire piece of it, and then I let that dry completely because I'm going to be doing the Mod Podge heat transfer method. If you're not familiar with that method, what you do is you put a coat of Mod Podge on your piece. Like this is the cardboard that I'm doing. I let that dry, and then I take my little mini Cricut. It's just a little iron, and I take some parchment paper, and then I just go over the whole thing, and then that helps adhere that paper. I have got really good results. I don't get any bubbles, and my print looks really good. So this is the orange. It has little mini dots on it, and I decided to use this on the inside of my canvas. This is what I'm going to be flipping out for my curls, and so I'm just trimming it down so that I can kind of glue it. I'm just going to Mod Podge this on there. I cut it in half so that I could work with it a little bit easier. So I just put some Mod Podge on there, and I just worked in sections. I did the top part first, then I went back and did the other one, or the bottom part second. It just, for me, it just works a little bit better, and then I can control it a little bit better as well. So I just put some Mod Podge on there, and then put that second piece of scrapbook paper on there, and I probably got this scrapbook paper over at Hobby Lobby. I just smooth everything out just using my spatula, and then I went ahead and put a layer of Mod Podge over the top. Now I let all of this dry completely overnight so that I didn't have any stickiness to it. So then now we're going to go into making the busted canvas. So this is the back part, and then this is going to be the part on top. Now I'm going to share some of my tips that I learned along the way, being this my first time to do the busted canvas. Now I want this part of the pumpkin to show in the busted canvas. Like at the bottom, it has that plaid pattern. And so what I'm doing is just kind of measuring where I want my, I'm kind of like getting an idea of how I want this to go. So I'm trying to figure out where I want the center of my canvas so that I can make a little X, and then I can use that to make my slits in my canvas to make my curls. Now I started out with my X-Acto knife, and then I had to go ahead and change to my scissors. Then I changed to my box blade. Now one tip that I have, or something that I'll do different next time, I'm not going to use couple layers of scrapbook paper and Mod Podge, because that made my curls thicker. And so most definitely if I do another busted canvas, I'll share any kind of tips or something like that. But like, the canvas already is thick, and then I put 2 layers of scrapbook paper on it, as well as the Mod Podge. So that made several layers that I had to cut through. And so, because the scrapbook paper kind of has a little thickness to it as well, and so I just find I'm like, maybe I don't like all those layers on there. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife, and again, box blade, scissors, whatever, to get my slits started. And then I'm just going to cut them like a pizza. Like that's what I was kind of thinking, like how you would cut a pizza. You know, I just cut it across and down, and then I just go in the middle of those. Now, I have seen, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there are tons of people. This is a viral craft that is going really viral right now here in the year of 2024. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of people have their different ideas. And so I just wanted to kind of share my first time of how it went and what I would do differently, because you can see here, I'm cutting it. Everything was good, but I was really kind of struggling with cutting because it was really thick. And so in the end, honestly, you can't even tell any of that. You can see some of the white from the canvas, and then also this paper that I was using kind of had some white to it when you cut it. And so I just took my Distress ink in Vintage Photo, and I just went along the edges and just blended all of that in with the darkness. We gave it some distressing. And so I was really okay with it. Again, the end result turned out just fine. But having something sharp to use, like a box blade or X-Acto knife, scissors, something else will really kind of get your cuts the way that you want. And again, I wanted the like the burst to be because the Hello Fall pumpkin, I didn't want the plaid to be showing as well. I wanted more the whole picture of this pumpkin with the Hello Fall. I wanted that to be my focal point, and I'm really happy with the end result, but it took me a little bit of time. And again, practice makes perfect. So just watching different people's videos, just their tutorials of how they do it really kind of helps. And so I'm achieving it a little bit easier, as you can see. All right, so here is when I'm discovered. I'm like, oh, I can see that wood frame. So I go ahead and use my paint Dixie Belle drop cloth, and went ahead and painted the inside of the entire frame. So here I'm just kind of positioning the flaps and just kind of figuring out that, yep, I want to Tracyfy this, put a little bit of my country charm doodling on this because that's what I like to do. So I just take my black Sharpie marker and just go around some of the designs, the flowers, just to enhance them just a tad. This is just my style. I love doodles and squiggles and all of that stuff. So these are just some of the country charm kind of just little things that I add that really make my projects pop. So I go ahead and do that. Then I pull out my Stickles glue. Now this is just glitter glue. And so I just have different colors here. I'm just going and putting in some of that, just giving it just some shimmer, and really just kind of make this, just kind of add a little bit more pizzazz to this already cute print. So again, I'm just using little Stickles. Now I'll have a link in the description box. I went on Amazon and just did a search for Stickles glitter glue, and there are many options that pop up, or you can get it at the craft store, anywhere, like in the scrapbook section. There are a lot of different glitter glues. Maybe even Walmart has it or something like that. But I love using Stickles glitter glue on my projects to really make it pop. And it just really makes this real. I just am so happy with the end result of this cute fall project. To attach the frame to the front of the print, I'm just using my Quick and Thick tight bond glue as well as hot glue just to glue all of that together. Then I just use my clamps to hold it for a bit while it dries. Then I'm going to go ahead, and this is where I'm going to start working on the curls, and I use the Vintage Photo Distress ink and my little finger dauber and just go along the edges just to give it a little brown color. It covers up any of the imperfections in the scrapbook paper, like the cuts, that kind of thing. Again, this was a little bit thicker than what I thought it was going to be. I didn't even think about it, but next time I'll probably paint the front of it or the back, or maybe paint the front and maybe use paper on the back so that way it's not quite as thick, my little curls. Now, when I was working with my curls, I was having a hard time getting my curls to stick just by just using some hot glue. So what I decided to do is I pulled out my tacks. I got these from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to be putting in a little tack, and I just kind of tie it in the whole project. At the end, on the finished picture, I put some in each corner, and I just really feel that it kind of adds a little bit of decoration as well as holds it in place. I did not have good luck with just hot glue holding that, and so those tacks work really good with that. And I just really feel over the years of just, handling and that kind of thing, I think that I will like that a little bit better if I have something like a thumbtack or something like that to hold it. But I got these little tacks over at Hobby Lobby. For the topper, the flowers and the bows, I'm just taking some little small flowers, some eucalyptus, just some white daisies. I got these little filler bushes over at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be making kind of like a swag. I'm going to be adding these tendrils in there. Now, these little curly cues, I got those from the His and Her wedding section over at Hobby Lobby. I'll get them when they're on sale. And then also I'm going to be adding some of these greenery, these berries. Now, I was fortunate to pick them up at Hobby Lobby before they discontinued them. I know that I've had several people reach out to me and ask about these green berries. Hobby Lobby had clearanced them out this year in 2024. And so that's where I got mine from. They're kind of like faux Sweet Annie. You can find real Sweet Annie on Etsy or maybe in the Facebook groups or something like that. All right, so then what I did is I just took some ripped fabric, just strips of fabric, as well as some muslin. I have some laces and trims. I have some pearls in there. And then now I'm just making a raffia bow, just kind of making sure that all of that is put in there together. And then I realized that my little lace was left out. So I just went ahead and kind of untied it a little bit and stuck that in there. Now to add a little bit of filler, I just have some fine excelsior and I'm just stapling that to the top of it. I just got this little stapler at, I think I got it at Lowe's, but you can get it also on Amazon and it's listed in my Amazon shop. So I am just positioning that little swag on there and I just add it either just with glue or just stapling it. And I love the wispiness of the fine excelsior because it just kind of gives something for everything to kind of stick to and look really, really pretty. And so this is what it's looking like so far. So pretty. So then I'm just putting on my bow there and I just really love how everything is coming together. I kind of put one of my clamps there to help hold it while I'm working on the other part. At the bottom, I put just a little bit of that fine excelsior. I love the wispiness of it. It just kind of gives it a little bit of substance without being, I don't want it to take away from my print. And then I do add a couple more pieces of the green berries. I just cut them in half and just kind of stick them there in the bottom so that they kind of like just give a little bit of color to the bottom of it. And I just absolutely love the way that this turned out. Now, this was again, my first project to do with the busted canvas. I did use a 12 by 12 canvas. There are so many different versions out there. And so I hope that my tips and tricks, my video here has been helpful, maybe gave you some ideas and that kind of thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all of the time. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Hey, hey, friends, it's Tracy. Today we're making a fall wreath using an evergreen wreath base. Now, this is a 24-inch evergreen wreath base. Now, this is from Hobby Lobby. So, the first thing I'm going to do is take off those tags on there, that hanging tag, as well as that pesty red sticker. And then we're going to go ahead and fluff out all of the ties on the evergreen wreath base. And then this is what we're going to be putting in our mesh into. And what I'm going to use for the sign, I wanted to show you this because I was having this dry. Now this blue pumpkin sign is either from Trendy Tree or Craft Outlet. I've had it in my stash for a few years. And so what I did is I put my 1-inch cable ties on the back, using some E6000 as well as hot glue, went around that as well. And then I just have some green pipe cleaners in there because I wanted it to blend in with the evergreen base. And so then I just set that to the side to dry until I get ready to use it. Once I got all of my green ties poofed up, I'm going to start with a 21-inch blue deco mesh. And this deco mesh has some shimmer to it. So what I did is kind of unroll it. Then I gather it there at the end. Then I just stick it in the tie somewhere just to start. And then I'm going to go like across and make some poofs. And the poofs are probably about 8 or 9 inches. And then I'm going to go back and forth, making some poofs all the way around my evergreen wreath. I'll continue doing that until I get to the end, cut it off, then I just secure it there with the green ties. Now, this is about how much I have left out of this roll, and I have that for another project. These are the 10-inch deco mesh that I'm going to be using. Now, my favorite place to get deco mesh is at Craft Outlet or Hobby Lobby. That is where I got the majority of these that I'm using in my wreath today. Now, this orange and white 10-inch deco mesh is from Hobby Lobby. I love it. They have it for several years in the fall season, and so I stock up on that because I love using this deco mesh. Now, what I did is I cut this at 25 inches, and I'm going to be doing the cruffle method. That is rolling over each end and then just kind of gathering it in the middle. I just clamp it with a little clamp, and that holds it there for me until I'm get my second one that I'm going to be adding in my like ties. And so I have the orange and white, and then the next one I'm going to be using is this burlap snowball mesh, rolling that out to 25 inches. And then using my little rotary cutter, cut that off, and I'll be doing the same method as far as the cruffle by folding over each end and then just gathering it in the middle using my clamp to hold that until I get ready for it to put together with the other one. And so then once I get my two bunches together, then bundles together, then I just put them in the evergreen wreath base. And so this evergreen wreath base form is a little bit new to me. Usually I use the rings from Dollar Tree or Walmart or wherever I can get them. And so a lot of wreath makers use the evergreen wreath. So I am getting a little bit more familiar with it. And so I thought that I would do a wreath with you to show you how I did mine. So for the next bundle of mesh, 10-inch mesh, I'm using the navy blue and then also this burlap burlap. Those both came from Craft Outlet. I'm cutting them each at 25 inches, doing the same thing with the cruffles just by folding over each of the ends, gathering it in the middle, and then I will have my little taco or just something that I just kind of my little bundle, if that's how I do it, and that's how I make my little bundles. So wherever the gather is for the blue 21-inch mesh, that's where I put the orange and the burlap snowball mesh bundles. And so I have 11 of those. And so then I have 11 of the navy blue with the burlap. And so I just go opposite of those so that I have a really full wreath. And so I have 22 bundles of 10-inch mesh in this wreath right here, and I'm just loving how all of this is really everything is really full and everything like that. Okay, so for my ribbon comes from different places. All of this came from Craft Outlet, and so I have two 2.5-inch ribbons, and then two 1.5-inch, and so that is what I'm going to be using for this wreath. And so I use my little sizer boards here, just ribbon tail boards. I just wrap it around, and so I'm going to be alternating this pattern with another solid pattern. And so then I'm going to be cutting these at 14 inches. I dovetail the ends. If you're not familiar with dovetailing, you just I make sure that my ends are even, and so then I fold it over, then just do a V cut so that everything looks nice and finished. And it just really makes a very pretty look to your wreath when you have really nice finished tails. So once all of my ribbons are cut, I'm going to be doing this like these two, a 2.5-inch and then a 1.5-inch. I just fold it in half, and then that's how I'm going to be putting it into the ties. So I untwist it, and then I put it in there, and I kind of like for my own, so I kind of keep up with it. I kind of figure out which set of ribbon I want to go into which bundle of deco mesh, and then that's how I keep it even. And so since I have 22 bundles of deco mesh, I have 22 sets of ribbon, so 11 of each one, so that I can put them in there, and then I alternate them so that they look really nice. All right, so then once I get all of my ribbon in there, I'm going to go ahead and put on my sign. And so since this is an evergreen base, and even when I do my deco mesh wreaths, it's kind of hard to get those pipe cleaners through the mesh and also through all of this greenery. So I use upholstery needles, and I had shared the pack, what it looks like. I just got that at Walmart in the sewing section. And so just slide the end of the pipe cleaner through the eye of that needle, and then I just pull it it through the back, and it just kind of really, it's just one of those tools that helps us wreath makers kind of get through that thick mesh and all of that greenery and stuff. And so then I make sure that my sign is the way where I want it on the front, and then I just twist it, and on the back just attach that twist those pipe cleaners to attach my sign to the wire, and make sure that it doesn't move and that everything is nice and secure. So then I flip it back over. I make sure that all of my ribbon tails are out and fluff those out. Just make sure that none of them are tucked underneath that sign, and so that everything looks nice and pretty. All right, so this little happy fall orange, already painted orange, I got that over at Hobby Lobby, and I shared what the package kind of looks like. I got it in the fall section, and so before I glue on my happy fall letters or words, I want to just add a little bit of doodle. So I'm just taking my black Sharpie marker, just adding a little bit of doodle to this already cute sign. Then also I'm going to take a white paint pen and go and add a little bit of squiggles and doodles with that, adding some dots, and just make it like I said, the little sign is already cute, but I'm going to make it a little bit cuter. Just add my little personal touches on there. Once I finish that, then I'll go ahead and glue on the sign. I'm just using some Fabri-Tac glue as well as hot glue. Make sure that that is on there really well and that it will not come off. Now, for the like squiggles and doodles and all that kind of thing, what I did is I just gave it, when I took it outside to take the pictures, I just gave it a quick spritz of my polyacrylic sealer, so that everything is really nice and stays fresh and is secure. For florals, I have this fun orange and yellow bush that is from Hobby Lobby in the fall season, and I just cut off stems of those. Then I took it over there to my steel picks machine and put a steel pick on the end of it. This is just my personal preference, because I like to, on the side, I have a glue pot that has melted glue sticks in it, and I just stick those in there, and then I stick them in underneath the little flaps of the deco mesh, making them secure, and then everything looks really nice. I try to balance out the florals the best that I can, and I also added some yellow daisies with some green wispy stems. Those are also from Hobby Lobby, and I absolutely love the way that this wreath turned out. Again, I usually do the deco mesh on the wire forms, but I am using the evergreen forms. Again, this is a 24-inch evergreen wreath form that is from Hobby Lobby, and I got it when they have their 50% off a Christmas sale. And I hope that you enjoyed watching me create this fall wreath on this evergreen base. Thanks so much for watching. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.